T.G.Jones, TG for short, was widely admired by football supporters in the 1930s and 1940s for his cultured performances at centre-half for Everton and Wales. However, early in 1950, he stunned Everton supporters when it was announced that he would be moving to manage a hotel in Pwllheli on the Llŷn Peninsula. He would also go on to manage the town's football team and play for it when they competed in the Welsh League North. Jones would lead the side to unprecedented heights, winning all the honours available. In 1957, he moved on to Bangor City, leading them to the Welsh Cup in 1962 and an epic encounter with Napoli in the European Cup Winners' Cup. In his later years, he ran a newsagent's with his wife, located close to Bangor Pier. Very few players who had the pleasure of lining up alongside Tommy Jones are still with us. However, John Cowell, now 92, joined Pwllheli in 1951 as a 20-year-old goalkeeper and enjoyed 2 fabulous seasons there. Subsequently, John played a few games for Bangor City and also on Merseyside played for Marine and Liverpool FC Reserves. It was my pleasure to sit down with John in his Menai Bridge home recently and discuss his life in football, in particular those days at Pwllheli with Tommy G. Jones. I hope you enjoy listening to it. So, well, John, let's go to the start. Then you obviously you were brought up in Bangor. You went to Friars School.
Indeed, yes.
And a great sporting school, I think, a good number of...
A tremendous footballing side.
Yes.
In those days, they didn't play rugby, they played soccer.
Yeah.
And we had an outstanding team in those days. I think 6 of them became full-time professional footballers. Incredible, really, out of 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Including Gwyn Lewis, who went to Everton.
Yeah.
But he was unfortunate, really, in being there at the same time as Davy Hickson.
Yeah. He was the understudy,
so
wasn't he?
He was a stand-in striker.
Yes.
And then we had Mervyn Jones as well, who played for Liverpool.
Yeah.
He wasn't there long. He went to Scunthorpe afterwards. And I think he played over 300 games for Scunthorpe afterwards, you know.
Yeah. And I think Gwyn Lewis went to Chesterfield and scored lots of goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Gwyn's brother, Ken, he went to Walsall, and then he finished up in Dover, in whatever league they were in.
Down in Kent, yeah.
So
great sporting tradition at the school. And you were a goalkeeper, was that always the case?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. How I ever became a goalkeeper, I don't know. Perhaps because I had big hands.
Tall and big hands. Always a good qualification.
Yeah. Yes. And then, of course, I did my national service. I actually played one match for Hereford.
Really?
I was stationed in Hereford.
Right.
And the camp had a regular soccer team and played local sides. And then I can't remember how it came about, but I played one match there. They were desperately short for a goalkeeper. Yeah.
Wow.
And I moved around a lot in the forces.
You were in the army, were you?
RAF.
Beg your pardon. Yeah.
I was stationed for a while in just outside Hereford.
Yes.
Which later became the headquarters for the SAS.
Yes, still is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I moved around a lot. I played a lot of cricket in the RAF as well.
Yeah, because that was your other great sporting passion.
It was indeed.
Yeah.
And I played against Brian Close on one occasion. Closey.
Yes. Yeah.
He was the same age as me exactly, and he was doing his national service in Catterick.
Yes, in Yorkshire.
Yes.
Yeah.
To be near home.
Yeah.
And he played for England, of course.
Of course, yeah.
When he was doing his national service. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you did your service. You came back home to North Wales and then started your university studies, is that right?
In Bangor.
Yeah.
Yes. I read economics.
Okay.
And then...
and were you turning out for the university team in football, were you, at this point?
I played for the college side on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And then for Pwllheli, of course, on Saturdays and any other time they wanted me. This was the condition that I signed for Tommy. He made it clear that I couldn't pick and choose my matches. If I was chosen for Pwllheli, I had to play for Pwllheli, which I accepted.
Of course. So the Tommy you mentioned is Tommy Jones, T.G.Jones, as he's known often on Merseyside, the great Everton and Wales centre-half,
man,
who had ended up in Pwllheli as a hotel manager in 1950 and also player manager of the club's of the town's football team. So how did this sort of legendary Welsh pivot end up signing you for Pwllheli? How did that come about?
Well, he fell out with Everton, didn't he?
Yes.
And he virtually went on strike. Rome, I think, wanted him, didn't they?
A couple of years before, they tried to sign him, but I think red tape after the war just made that impossible. But yeah, he kind of fallen out of favour and probably fallen out of love with Everton.
Everton, yes.
And that's how he was tempted away, probably for more money, I think.
Exactly.
Ironically.
He always preached to me that he was on £14 a week, which was the maximum in those days.
Yeah.
It was only when Jimmy Hill raised the maximum.
Yeah, in the 60s.
Yes, and he used to tell me that in the summer they got £12 a week. And he said he knocked at the chairman's door and said, "Am I a poorer player in the summer than I am in the winter?" But they wouldn't change.
No.
£12 and £14. And of course he became a very bitter man.
Yes.
When he started, when players were beginning to earn fabulous amounts of money. He became bitter.
He did later. Yeah.
Without a doubt. Whenever I used to call and see him, this was the theme.
Go back to that.
Yeah, but there we are.
So back to 1951 though. So you're studying. Tommy Jones, as we say, is managing a highly successful Pwllheli side. He's brought in players from across the border.
He had his contacts, you see, didn't he?
Yes, exactly.
That was the advantage he had.
Yeah,
the contacts.
He knew people, and he was a name. But so how did you end up there? What happened?
Well, somebody must have seen me playing for the university, I suppose. I never got to the bottom of it. And then one evening I was in the lounge at home and the doorbell rang and my father went to answer it and he came back. He was in awe, as I was. The great man himself knocking at my door. So he asked me, he said he was interested in signing me and I signed on the spot under the condition that I didn't pick and choose my games. If I was chosen to play for Pwllheli, I had to play for them, which I accepted, obviously. Yeah. Although we had a regular Saturday afternoon matches at the university, I made it clear to them I couldn't play on a Saturday.
Pwllheli
then
came
towards
first.
The end of the season, of course, we were playing twice a week in Pwllheli.
Yeah.
We'd done so well in all the cup competitions that we were playing every Tuesday and Saturday or Wednesday and Saturday.
Yeah, this sort of fixture pile-up that the successful teams always get. Yeah.
Yes. In fact, I think 1 week, we played 3 times in 1 week.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you sign on the dotted line. As an amateur, is this? Or were you
I know, I was still an amateur.
Yeah.
And of course, in those days, amateurs were only allowed tea money or fare money.
Yes.
I was picked up by the taxi every Saturday for home matches.
Right.
The taxi started in Wrexham with Glyn Williams, the ex-Wrexham player. They picked up in Chester. They picked up Vince Pritchard and George Makin. They stopped in Llandudno Junction to pick up Eddie Milet. They picked me at my front door in Bangor and they picked up Paddy Whelan on the other side of Bangor. I was one of the old-fashioned taxis whereby you could seat. There was one seat Oh, the back seats faced each other in the taxi.
Yes.
And we got to Pwllheli, and then after the match, we went to the Tower and had a meal.
That's the Tower Hotel that Tommy ran with his wife, Joyce. Yeah.
That's right. This was part of the deal, you see. They offered Tommy to run the football match, a football team, and they gave him the tenancy of the Tower Hotel, which, of course, was the finest hotel in Pwllheli.
Absolutely. It's an impressive building on the high street.
Yes. Bang in the centre.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was very interested and thankful to you for telling me about the programme on the Well S4C.
Yeah, about the tower, how they're hoping to
and in one of the stills, you could see Tommy.
Yes.
Standing in the middle.
With everybody around him, how he liked it.
Yeah. And of course, Tommy used to stand in the doorway of the hotel, wasn't he? Just to let people see him.
He was there, the great man.
Oh, the great man. He was always well dressed.
Immaculate, wasn't he? Like a country gent. You see the suits he would wear. Yeah.
And you know something which lots of people don't know? He never swore.
Really?
Never swore. No. I mean, which was unusual for footballers in those days. I never heard him swear. Oh.
So here you are then, you were sort of 20, how old were you, about 20 years old?
I was 20 then, my first year at the university, yes.
So you've been
having done my national service, yeah.
And then done your studies. So you've signed on the line, you've reported down to the rec, the ground down at Pwllheli. I mean, what was it like to turn out, with T.G.Jones wearing number 5 in front of you, this sort of legendary player in North Wales, really?
Yeah, we attracted gates of 2,000 every home match. Yeah. That was pretty good, for North Wales League side. And wherever we went to other grounds, there were full houses there as well, just to see Tommy himself.
Amazing.
He was an incredible player, really.
I mean, by this point, Tommy's probably 33, something like that, maybe 34, maybe 35. So he's clearly seen his best days. But here he is playing in the North Wales League. Was he still the player though? Was he still head and shoulders above everybody else?
He was almost unbeatable in the air.
Yes.
And he was, I suppose, he is ahead of his time, really, because nowadays, they're footballers, defenders, they like to walk the ball out, don't they?
Yeah.
But in those days, it was the big boot upfield. Tommy never did that.
No.
He tried to dribble his way out of, very successfully as well. And he was a fabulous penalty kicker.
Yeah.
Took all the penalties for Pwllheli. Yeah. And everyone in the bottom corner. We knew where it was going, but they couldn't do anything about it.
Keeper couldn't save it.
Yeah. And his half-time talks were out of this world.
Go on then. How did those go?
It's a pity that somebody didn't record one or two of them. Yeah. I can remember going to Portmaddock, and we needed, in those days, it was 2 points for a win, 1 for a draw.
Yes.
We needed to win the league championship. And this was on Easter Saturday, I think, several weeks before the end of the season. And we were drawing 0-0 at half-time. Well, he went through he started with me. And I'd done nothing. I had hardly touched the ball. And he blasted every single one and said, "You'll never play for Pwllheli again." We finished, we won 5-0 second half, and we won the championship. But his half-time talk, I can remember it well.
Nobody was spared.
Yes. And referees, that's another point as well. I can remember our dressing room was next to the referee's room. And it was just a sort of plasterboard division between the two in one corner. And he walked up to and he said to the rest of the team, "Now, today we've got the best referee on the coast. Yeah, respect him. Yeah. And then he'd walk away now to the other corner, out of hearing, and he'd say, this fellow is the worst of the lot. Right? Now, give him plenty of mouth and show him who the boss is.
Devious. Yeah.
Oh, God, yes, yeah. Oh, tremendous. Yeah.
But that team, I mean, it was by far the best team in the league. I think you were pretty much unbeaten for the whole season. Just, I think, lost one game at the very end when you had a clash of fixtures. So, was it just that were they on a different level to everybody else in that season, that first season in particular?
Those were the days where other sides were beginning to recruit a professional player manager.
Yes.
It was just about starting because people had been starved of football during the war. And other sides began to recruit professional ex-league players.
Yes.
But we were outstanding every match. I think Big Mark, the centre forward, scored 60 goals that season, you know. And yes, it was tremendous. And the gates we got was average of 2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. In the context of now, really. If you go to see games in this area, it would you get a couple of hundred if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, even TNS now, who won the league about 9 or 10 consecutive seasons, they only play in front of 250 people.
Yeah.
And there are some that only play in front of 120. Amazing, isn't it?
But by then, football was the thing to go and watch. Yeah.
And in those days, of course, the only football you saw on the television were the home internationals and the cup final.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Nothing at all.
So if you wanted to watch football, you went.
So they went to see the local sides.
Local team, yeah.
Yeah.
And these places you were playing at around North Wales, I mean, I take it the pitches were of variable quality at best.
Very much so indeed, yes.
Which is makes it even more of a testament to some of the football you seem to have hinted at that Tommy and Pwllheli were able to play, even on those cabbage patch.
Oh, indeed,
pitches.
yes. There were some dreadful pitches there, yeah. But we coped all right, I think, you know. Pwllheli had a good surface themselves.
Yeah.
So did Porthmadog. Bangor were very, very heavy, clay surface. And of course the water came down from the mountain as well and saturated the place. It was an awful surface in Bangor.
Farrow Road.
Yes. But there were some Flint had a good surface as well, I remember that.
Probably had the more sandy soil maybe. Just drained better perhaps.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But there were some awful... And lots of things changed. There were no independent linesmen either.
Right.
The home linesman.
So each team provided a linesman.
Each team provided a linesman.
Yeah.
And of course,
the
flag would go up at the appropriate time, or it didn't go up.
Yeah, depending.
Yeah. So the referees had a bit of a rough time, really.
I bet.
They couldn't depend on linesmen.
No. Amazing.
And trainers, as they were called in those days, they had their normal... They didn't have shorts or anything, but they had their trousers tucked into their socks, but they had football boots on.
Yeah.
And they'd run onto the field with a bucket and a sponge.
Yeah.
And don't forget, in their pocket, no matter what the injury was, smelling salts.
Yeah.
You had to have smelling salts. Even if you twisted
your ankle. Boost.
Definitely.
I bet the smell is still in your head, isn't it, of those things?
That's right, yeah. And I don't think they knew a great deal about injuries.
They weren't medical men, were they?
No,
they were just...
not really. They did their best, though, I think, you know.
The magic sponge.
Yes, and there was 2 points for a win and 1 for a draw.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So things have changed considerably, haven't they?
They certainly have. And you said that Tommy was obviously a great player, but didn't swear. But, you know, as a person, what was he like with you? Did you have many dealings with him in those times when you were at Pwllheli?
When we went away to play, he used to pick me up. He had an A40 van. He had the kit man sitting in the back and Tommy and I driving.
Yeah.
So I had a long chat with Tommy whenever we went away. He'd pick me up at the door in his van.
Yeah.
You know, what a privilege that was.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what would he talk about? Football, life,
the whole time.
Pontificate?
His experiences at Everton.
Yeah.
And how he didn't get on with, was it Cliff Britton?
Cliff Britton at the end, the manager, who had been a teammate.
Ex-player.
Yes, they played together.
Played.
And then Cliff came back as manager.
That's right. And he insisted on everybody calling him Mr. Britton.
Yes.
And Tommy found that very difficult, having played with him for all those years.
Yeah.
That was one reason why he fell out with him, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always hard for somebody to come back to a club as a manager.
Yes.
When you've still got some of your teammates there. How do you make that gap difficult?
Yeah.
And I think Tommy probably by then had something of an ego. He was the fans. He was the idol, wasn't he? At Goodison?
He was indeed.
It's probably not easy to be telling him to call you Mr. Britton. So
exactly.
You can see how they fell out.
Yeah. But when you think about it, really, leaving Everton as captain, that season he played 3 times for Wales.
Yeah.
Against Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland. Or was it Ireland? I can't remember.
It was an Irish team then.
Either.
Yeah.
He played in all 3 games.
Yeah.
That same season. And then up sticks. And it couldn't happen today, could it?
It wouldn't happen today. I mean, the whole financial situation was different. That you could be better off playing non-league football.
Exactly.
With our business thrown in at the hotel. Now, obviously, that's just not the case.
So even if he'd walked away, he couldn't sign for any other English league club.
Not without Everton granting permission and demanding a transfer fee.
No club under the English FA.
Correct.
But that's why he came to Pwllheli.
Yeah.
They obviously gave him a good deal.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know what he was paid. I don't think anybody does know.
Who knows? The irony is, the hotel, I think it was his poor wife Joyce who did most of the work.
I know it was, yes.
Tommy was the draw. The big name above the door.
Yeah, exactly.
And poor Joyce would be scurrying around making the place work. Yeah.
Yes, I'd often go and see him in his shop, you know.
Later on in Bangor when he had the newsagents. Yeah.
Can you imagine today?
This tiny little shop as well down at Garth in Bangor, wasn't it? It wasn't even a big shop.
Imagine a top player today keeping a little shop.
Yeah, corner shop.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
I know. I wish I'd gone. in my 20s and met him.
But Joyce was never serving in the shop.
Right.
She was always sitting in the... Come and see Joyce, he'd say.
Right.
Go and have a cup of tea with Joyce.
You were invited back of house, were you?
Yes, indeed. Poor old Tommy.
Poor Tommy.
Serving sweets and papers.
Yeah, walking his dogs on the pier. But back to Pwllheli. I mean, you were there 2 seasons, won the lot pretty much. How come you left Pwllheli? Was it just work that took you elsewhere?
It was my choice, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I said, Tommy, I think I should start playing for the university again.
Yeah.
All my friends were playing for the college.
Yeah.
So I decided to do that.
Okay.
And his side was breaking up.
It was, yeah. Yeah, those great years were at the beginning of the 50s, and then by the mid-50s, other teams were starting to overtake Pwllheli, weren't they? Yeah.
And he was losing a lot of games by then.
Yes.
Shame, really. There we are.
There you go. But did you... Well, I guess you must have kept in touch, because Tommy, a few years later, ends up at Bangor City, 1957. He comes up here. Great success, Welsh Cup.
Yes.
Qualifying for the European Cup Winners' Cup.
Yes.
A huge name in the city, and staying there, winning the newsagents down by the pier. So would you...
He actually played as well himself for a short while.
That's right, for a year or 2.
But by then, of course, he was in his late 30s.
Yes, and I think he had a bad ankle that he'd picked up with Everton in the war years.
Yes, he
as
did,
well.
Yeah. We never saw any sign. You know, we were always told he had glass ankles. I never saw any sign of that. He never heavily bandaged or anything.
No. I think later on it probably got arthritic as he got older.
Yes.
So would you sort of keep in contact? I mean, I think you played a little bit for Bangor at one point yourself, didn't you? Was that under Tommy?
Yes, I only played half a dozen games or thereabouts.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, there we are. Because by then, cricket was my first love.
Yes, that was taking up your time.
Yeah.
Although I know that you ended up on Merseyside and turned out for a couple of clubs there, didn't you? So
yes, my first job, of course, after finishing in Bangor, was as a statistician with what was then the Liverpool Regional Hospital Board.
Right.
I got a bit bored with it, really. I was stuck in an office on my own, never saw anybody else, except I'd go down for a coffee with some of the other people there. But apart from that, it was a boring sort of job.
Mm-hmm.
Kept me fully active, mind you. All I had to do was to collect all the statistics from 23 hospitals under the board, ranging from to the east we had Warrington, Widnes. To the south we had Chester, and to the north we had Blackpool. Besides all the Liverpool hospitals, of which there were quite a number. And I had to collect the statistics from each of the hospitals, analyse them, give my report to my immediate boss, and that was it.
Okay. So you found some time to play football with Marine, is that right, in Crosby?
With Marine, yes. I had a full season with Marine. And because my predecessor there was Ken Hassel, who was a Welsh amateur international.
Right.
And somehow or other, they found out that I had gone to Liverpool to work. And one day, how they got to know where I was working, I do not know, unless they contacted my parents. I've no idea. Ken Hassel turned up one day in the office, and he said, I'm retiring. I've been by then Ken was in his very late 30s, and he said they'd like you to take over. So okay, that's how it happened.
So
now then, also we drew Marine in the FA, one of the preliminary rounds of the FA Cup the previous season, or 2 seasons earlier.
Right.
It was the first time ever that Pwllheli had gone into applied to go into the FA Cup.
Right.
The first round we played Bootle, whom we beat. The second round, Prescott Cables, whom we beat. The third round, Marine. We drew at Marine and we beat them 4-0 at home. They were a Cheshire League side, of course,
yes.
or Lancashire combination.
Yes.
And then in the final preliminary round, we played Runcorn at Runcorn, and we lost marginally 2-1. And Tommy scored an own goal.
Oh dear. Don't mention that.
Oh,
the shame, the hubris.
Yeah, we had a good arrangement, He'd often head back to me.
Yeah.
Instead of heading out. Yeah. But he mistimed everything today on that particular day.
He used to do that with Ted Sagar at Everton, the heading back. Ted didn't always appreciate it.
Oh, God. And Runcorn of all places,
Yeah.
And wherever we went on Merseyside, they had full gates just to see Tommy.
T.G.Jones.
And we lost 2-1 there against Runcorn. It was a shame.
So you think Marine may have spotted you with you playing against them for Pwllheli, that you might have come on Marine's radar?
Yes.
That way.
Yes. I mean, some of the Marine players there remembered the game well.
Yeah. Okay. So you were there playing on College Road for a season.
Yes, on the sloping ground.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's the slope. It's plastic now. They've got one of these 4G plastic pitches now.
You showed me a photograph of yourself there.
Yeah, I was there.
And of course, when they played the Spurs in the FA Cup,
of course, yeah.
I watched that, didn't I?
I bet, yeah.
Yes, and the row of houses on the right.
Still backing onto the pitch. It's amazing, yeah.
Yes.
I love it there.
It's wonderful, really.
Now, full disclosure, I know you're a Liverpool fan. I forgive you, but you ended up playing for Liverpool, I think, at the reserve
Yes,
level.
I played a few games for Liverpool Reserves, yes.
And was that through playing for Marine that you came onto Liverpool's radar?
Yes, straight after.
Yeah.
Because I was told that there was a chap called Percy Parker, I understand, was one of the directors of Everton at that time.
Right.
And I don't. You never get to know the full story, do you?
Mm-hmm.
But he had been there, and I must have had a good game or what. And he asked me.
Oh, he was Liverpool director, and he.
And we played, apart from one game, we played most of the games in on their training ground at
Melwood.
Melwood.
Yeah.
At Melwood. At Melwood.
So
yes.
you were playing for, would it be the A team and the reserves? Was it?
Between the A team and the reserves.
Yeah.
I can remember playing, and the A team played. I can remember playing at Stoke Margarine as well for the
Stoke
A team.
Margarine. Okay. Great stuff.
Yeah.
And I know one player that I think you played a couple of games with was John Morrissey.
Yes.
Who was a sort of great, tough
That's
winger.
what his son played afterwards, didn't he?
Yeah, so obviously John ended up at Everton a few years later, became a legend, and his son, Johnny Jr., he was Everton, and then Tranmere became quite a legend at Tranmere, so a real footballing family.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember playing with John, what he was like, Morrissey?
No, it's a long time ago, really.
Yeah, we're talking so.
I can remember he was short and a bit mouthy. I can remember that bit.
Yeah,
but as a player, I can't really recall. No.
Yeah.
Yes, Morrissey. That's the one.
That's the one. And I think your sort of football career came to an end. I think it was a game on the Wirral. I think you were telling me why. Your football career. Didn't you get an injury?
Yes, I did indeed.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I was going to pull out a letter I had. I've got it there now. From the secretary, Ernie Graham, the secretary of Marine, and it was enclosing a cheque for £13, I think, because I was hospitalised for 2 whole weeks in St Catherine's Hospital in Birkenhead, and the insurance paid out 3 guineas a week for hospitalisation.
Yes.
And odd, isn't it? 3 guineas a week they were paid out.
Right. And that was...
Now, when I played for Pwllheli, of course, as an amateur, I got stuffed into my pocket £3. £3 per game. This was now per game.
Yeah.
Now, £3 is equivalent to about 100 today.
It's not bad. Money in the boots.
And as a student, God, it was like winning the pools, wasn't it? Yeah.
A bit of money I'm playing with T.G.Jones. It's not bad.
Oh, what? I'm playing with the great man himself. Oh, yeah. I don't know what the players were paid, mind you. I have no idea.
Officially, who knows?
No idea.
Who knows?
Probably a fiver or all thereabouts, I would think.
Maybe. But
some of them came a long way, you see.
Yeah, from Cheshire and Merseyside, some of these lads.
George Makin lived in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And Vince Pritchard lived in Chester. Glenn Williams in Wrexham.
Yeah.
So it was worth their while, wasn't it, for a fiver?
Yeah.
Or whatever they were paid, I don't know. So, I'd like to know what Tommy was paid.
Well, handsomely, I dare say. Handsomely.
Far more than £14.
Definitely. Well, great memories, John, and you must look back with great affection, even though we're talking near enough 70 years.
70 years ago.
70 years ago you were there.
A long time ago, isn't it?
But your memory's still sharp.
I'm probably the only ex-player from those 2 years still alive.
I'd be amazed if you're not. Of course, Ivor Roberts, who's a
little
bit younger, he followed you at Pwllheli, and Ivor's still going.
Yes.
But there's not many who can claim to have played with Tommy Jones.
No.
And have such great memories of it.
So, that's right. Amazing.
Well, thank you.
Often think about him, you know.
Yeah.
Often think about it. In fact, I've got his photograph in my study there on the wall.
Bearing down on you, keeping an eye on you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yes, there were some good players around in those days. There's one photograph I brought you here. It's a cricket photograph, actually. Rob, I'm sure you recognise this chap here.
Without my glasses, let's have a look. Go on then. I can't see. You tell me, who is that?
John Charles.
John, the great John Charles.
John Charles, yes. Played cricket for Bangor. On that was our centenary match.
Right.
And we were looking for somebody to attract the crowd. And it was the first match ever played on a Sunday in Bangor. And somebody heard, to start the story off, there was no county cricket played on Sundays in those days. There was no Sunday league, so the players had a day off. We heard that Lancashire were playing at home at Old Trafford against Yorkshire. So the secretary wrote to Len Hutton and asked him if he'd like to come down for the day. And if so, your fee. He replied straight away and said, yes, I will come down, and my fee is 50 guineas plus expenses.
Oh.
So they wrote back and said, thank you, but no thanks. Somebody then heard that John Charles was staying in Butlins on holiday with his family.
Just near Pwllheli, yeah.
In Pwllheli.
Yeah.
Can you imagine these top players going to Butlins for a week? So they went hot foot down to Butlins. They found John Charles. They asked him if he would like to come up to play in this match.
Wow.
He asked his wife, and she said yes. So he came up and he played for a tenner, £10. He had no whites, nothing at all.
Yeah.
We had to kit him out. We went down. He hadn't got a car, by the way.
Wow.
He went down to Pwllheli. They went to Pwllheli. He picked him up, and he played for us. He was a decent cricketer.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah, he scored 20 odd, if I remember, and a thoroughly nice fellow. Spoke to everybody.
That's wonderful.
We had hundreds of people because we were fortunate because the North Wales Chronicle came out on a Friday and this was splattered all over it. John Charles going to Bangor to play. And of course they all turned up. They weren't interested in the cricket. They wanted to see John Charles. Do you know that he walked around the ground and he shook hands with people? That's how good he was.
A gentleman.
Yes.
A giant and a gentleman.
Yeah.
And of course Tommy's success there in the sort of Wales team as a number 5.
That's right. That's right, yes.
So another
But
connection.
he was an equally good centre forward as well,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
amazing player. And one of the few to really make it in Italy as well. A few
Yeah, indeed, yes. Yeah.
English or Welsh or Scottish players to really make a go of it there. Yeah, amazing. So you played with John Charles. That's amazing. Great memories.
Yeah. Amazing, isn't it?
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks very much, John. Wonderful to talk to you about those memories. It's great that your recollection is so sharp. It's wonderful to capture it, so thank you so much.
Well, I'm lucky to have a good memory, I suppose. I don't know.
Thanks a lot.